welcome.
Hello.
You know, thank you for joining us, I should say, for some Blazing Dominion. Um, I think compared to Burst Protocol, this is probably the way more impactful set. So even though we lost the footage to the Burst Protocol stream, I think it's nice that we'll have Shiroun to cover this one. But without further ado, these are all the archetypes that are supported in Blazing Dominion. Obviously, the cover card for it is the Red Dragon Archfiend, but we also do have support for a lot of the Medius archetypes, um, the Phantom Revenge archetypes, and then some other ones like Rocket and Hero and Charmers, and we also have Clown Crew, which is a new archetype. We will be going over pretty much Elfnote, DoomZ, Cool Tune, and Predaplant. But we will also cover some stuff like Hero, Synchron, and stuff like that later. Um, but without further ado, I will allow Mr. Cows to talk about Cool Tune.
Thank you, thank you. Well, Cool Tune is one of probably going to be the best deck coming out of this new support. It kind of just does everything for the deck. It has turn zero synchro plays. It can run a billion hand traps right off the bat, all of which are also extenders for the deck. It has some of the best searching tools imaginable, and also with alongside the new support right here, it allows you the I believe clip off the top of my head, yeah, basically allows you to look at the top like your opponent's hand completely, and with the other cards in the deck, you can look at the top card of your opponent's deck and either banish one and or put it to the top or bottom, meaning you know exactly everything about what your opponent's going to draw, what's in their hand. You will have perfect information and perfectly outplay it all. So it makes it a little bit harder, but there are some good weaknesses to the deck. One, it is vulnerable to board breakers. So if you have like two board breakers in hand, they can't really deal with that. Super Poly is also an excellent example here because it does just synchro summon. It also is pair, so it can basically they can't really have any real negates. There is a one negate in the deck. Don't get me wrong, but if you can outplay it like bait that whatsoever, you can't. They usually lose to it anyhow. With strong, but in general, this deck is going to be very much insane. There's very few ways to counter it. It plays through hand traps completely. It plays through Fua and Droll like it's nothing, because even the half board can be used on your turn, and basically like still do full combo anyways. The only downside to this is that the only real thing that sucks about this is the Cool Tune mirror match is terrible. Because one of the monsters also allows the anything under 1800 attack points to gain 4 additional levels, which screws up synchro plays, or it screws up like level modulations and whatnot. That's about it. There's not really much to say other than board breakers are really good against Cool Tune, and there's not really good hand trap interactions with this deck because usually the only thing that could really be decent is banishing the tuner monsters from their graveyard, because that they do need to banish a tuner monster in order to negate a card with their negate. That is an important thing.
Yeah, I think the only thing that you didn't cover that I didn't include in this is the fact that Naturia Rose Whip still exists.
Oh,
I
yep.
know we know that it was banned in Master Duel, which I think is a very good hit, and along with limiting overtake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the fact that it still exists here does make it going the board breaker approach a little bit tougher
Yes, that's true.
because they can bottleneck the board breaker that you intend to use with the Zalen if they see it coming, which they will because of Rotary looking at your hand.
That is very true. Yeah, that is actually completely right there. The other thing I forgot to mention as well, another good thing is basically another great counter to this is any banishing effects, shifter or die-fi or or what's the trap called? Dimensional. Like
Macrocosmos.
yeah, not macrocosmos, but the one that says
Oh,
that you
different.
said abroad.
Oh, different dimension ground.
Yeah, different dimension ground. Yeah, because the thing is about this deck that in order to trigger all their effects, they all have to be in graveyard. So if you banish them, obviously their additional effects don't trigger. So it does make stuff going like playing around that very difficult. Dark Law is also a really good like for all the hero players out there. That card literally wins against the deck like turn one with like any additional setup. Problem is that they still can play around it and they still can get to the big bodies and then just negate the die-fi and still play. Or they can just pop the die-fi if they decide to run additional if they decide to take out some of the hand traps for like for like additional cosmic cyclone or more stuff like that. So but it is generally a really good card in the Cool Tune. Like anything that involves banishing effects. Yeah, that's all I have to cover on Cool Tune completely.
Yeah, I mean, we both agreed when we were talking about this that this is the most self-explanatory deck
Yeah.
because um, it's. I mean, I think it's just always interesting when Konami releases these decks early on Master Duel or like these very weird staggered releases because we even if you're not a TCG player, you've probably if you play Master Duel, you've already faced this deck at full power or even more full power because of the OCG cards that they still allow in that
Mm-hmm.
game. Um, but yeah, I think it's still a pretty good representation of how the deck will perform. But yeah, following that up, we have Elfnote. Um, Elfnote does get some new cards as well. And it's compared to Cool Tune, um, a much more flexible strategy. There's various different ways that you can play it with different packages, such as Fiendsmith, Branded, the Power
Interesting.
Patrons. You can also do some of the new Red Dragon Archmoon cards because although they are not as generic, a good amount of them still are just like tuner and generic monsters sort of deal. And I think that's not even like going through all the synergies the deck has. Um, but I think is it Regina that is the turn zero
Yeah,
play now?
Regina is the turn zero play by sending a basically how I believe it basically you send a elf node or power page. I forget the actual card exactly, but like from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then special summon her in the middle zone. And then her new effect basically says you can special summon one from your deck particularly, and then any of those effects basically say he'll swap the places real fast, and then they have additional effects in the middle zone. So in this case, for example, it's the blue one. If you get the one bad hand rips, it basically you can get a free hand rip on your opponent's turn. Your turn one plays with this basically means if you go through the Omega lines and this pattern, you can basically hand whip your opponent for 2 to 3 cards. And even if in through interruptions, meaning you probably aren't playing through the game and breaking that board. Uh, Most interactions with the deck are tied to the middle zone and monster effects. So Nib can be decent against this deck, but the problem is they do play him Link Spider to get around it. So if you can like stop the middle, everything has to revolve around the middle zone. So like I don't know, like if you're gonna play like stop this completely, like middle zone, like Ojamas is funny against this deck. It's not good, but it's funny.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that it does run the trap card, which basically for most of us, or at least I'll speak for myself, Forbidden Droplet is like one of the most prominent board breakers, not only in a lot of the decks that we play in general, but in this format. But the trap card, which is Rhapsody of Madness, can basically be used to stop any sort of board breaker. So it even with all of them, all of their negations or interactions being tied to the synchro effects and the effects of the Elf Note monsters themselves, they can still insulate themselves from a lot of these blowouts. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like this deck is a very it's like a lot of the sort of synchro strategies that they've been releasing as of recent. It's very degenerate. Like if they go first on you and full board you, it's like 10 interruptions of so many various kinds that you basically need a custom hand to break it.
Yeah, and even still, sometimes not even like even still, like if they just hand rip you for a bunch. Basically, the point of this, ban Omega, please, please, Konami, please ban Omega before the next ban list.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, that said, we do also have more Cancerous decks featuring
Yeah.
DoomZ.
Oh boy.
DoomZ is the Xyz based archetype within the Medius lore. Um, if you're not familiar with what it was doing in the first place, basically there is a trap card called DoomZ Destruction. It can be equipped to any DoomZ Xyz monster that they have, and it basically reads cards cannot be added to your opponent's hand, aka Thunder Dragon Colossus.
Yay.
Which typically the thing with Colossus is it could be much more interacted with. But the fact is that generally a lot of decks aren't running ways to deal with back row in the main deck. So it makes it a bit harder in general. But since that was their only interaction in the first wave, it didn't really take off. I know the deck is prominent in Genesis, but the new support allows it to be much, much better. And they do that by using a few options. One is the Springens package. They basically go through the entire line of Merrymaker to Great Champion Sargus to search Therion King Regulus. Since most, if not all, of their monsters are machines, it's very easy to summon Regulus. And then the monster that they equip to Regulus, they can pop it to further extend their plays. And it's one of the things that helps them in their matchup with like Branded Dracotail and with Cooltoon. Alongside that, the deck is also able to either go into Varudris, the rank 10 negate and pop, or if they want to go a sort of safer line, you can do the Utopic Future Zexal, which was the cover card for Duelist Advance. If you're not familiar with it, we'll show it later. But basically, it's a pseudo floodgate in the sense that it does not allow cards to be targeted at all. And this is not just monsters. I'm talking spells, traps, field spells, anything like that. It grants so much protection. It's also a snatch steal, and it's also a big body because it gains attack based on the levels of Xyz monsters that are not only on your field, but also in your opponent's field and graveyard, if I remember correctly. It definitely uses the
Yes.
opponents. But yeah, but basically, you have to deal with a lot of bodies, and then the DoomZ monsters themselves also have interactions, which include essentially attaching monsters as equip cards and negates as well. The main monster being Drastius for them in terms of like actual like interruption. Um, the easiest way to look at the deck is looking at it as similar to Unchained. A lot of their cards, when they are normal or special summoned, but also when destroyed, provide recursion and they provide their own forms of disruption, meaning that the deck can actually do the grind game super, super well. Um, so basically, it stops you from playing, and then you, as you try to pick apart their board, you're allowing them to play further on if the game goes into the grind. Um, so the deck does have a little bit less non-engine. I wrote a lot of it doesn't run a lot of non-engine, but I would say it's probably like closer to 12 or less, which isn't like average. I mean, it's below average, but the non-engine they can run is pretty strong. The two cards that we'd highlight are like Super Poly and Dimension Shifter.
Mhm.
It doesn't love being under Dimension Shifter, but there are lines where you can play around it, so it takes advantage of that. And then Super Poly allows it to deal with a lot of the Platoon matchups that it would deal with, or even just some of the more generic matchups as well. Fua and Droll are really the deck's main weaknesses. Um, but even then, yeah, just the trap existing creates a blockade for most decks because most decks still rely on searching.
Yep. Even still, another important thing to talk about as well, something that we didn't mention here because I forgot to put included in my notes. It does lose to kaiju's, like at least like Lava Golem or Spear Mode. This deck is guaranteed to always end on a minimum 2 bodies here, and that they don't trigger whatsoever. So you can just lava, like they're always going to end on the Varudras and everything, the rank 10 negate, and the guy who they can equip immediately to the like the trap. And so you can easily out both of those with just one Lava Golem. And depending if they want to go even further beyond, Sphere Mode can also deal with them pretty easily as well.
And those will be
And
cards that we highlight later.
yep, there will be also cards we highlight as well. Other important thing to note here as well for DoomZ, even though they do run a little less than like a little less non-engine than most of their cards are 1 card starters, and they're kind of like they basically can play through a lot of like interruptions even still, and even if it's like last card in hand, they can still absolutely cook as long as they don't draw the trap card, which is like a one of.
Yeah, and the other thing is that since one of the most prominent cards in this set is basically just Ghost Ogre plus DLC, um, it does still play through that because again, most of their cards just proc off of being popped, so it doesn't even need to be popped by the player themselves. So,
Yes.
and then the final deck that we'll talk about is a Predaplant. I would like to preface this by saying that Sunny is still doing a Predaplant stream, so we'll cover it, but not in as much detail as he will.
Yes.
But if you are not familiar with the archetype whatsoever, um, basically it's a fusion-based archetype focused around plants and dragon monsters. If you have ever, for some reason, watched the Arc V anime, it's basically now become a hybridization of Predaplant and a lot of the synchro monsters that were included in that anime that were used by Yugioh, who is the Spirit player from the show. They also do just generally have their own new level 4. And one of the prime cards that they use is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, as well as the sort of small Rose Dragon package. This deck is, if you're a fusion enthusiast, is like one of the best in terms of searching all the generic fusion and polymerization spells in the game. It can search instant fusion, it can search super poly, it can search super duper poly if you like that card too. The end board there's a lot more layered now than it previously was. Just because at minimum they're ending on field in terms of monster interruptions, at least 2 to 3, but they also have interruptions based in the graveyard, and they also have a fallback plan if they exhaust all of those cards, which is the monster that's pictured here, which is called Starving Venom Wing Dragon, has a pendulum effect when it's popped. So it scales itself upon it being popped in any means. It can pop itself. It can pop monsters on. It can pop any card on the field. But one of the cards that is used can be banished, and it would pop a card on the field, which is going to typically be this one. And basically, any monster that is summoned to the opponent's field gains a predator counter. If you're not familiar with what those are, basically they turn all your monsters that have levels to level 1, and it can still even apply to link monsters. What they would do is that they would summon Predaplant Dragostapelia, and Dragostapelia negates the activated effects of monsters on field that have predator counters. So basically, it is walking skill drain on legs, or it enables walking skill drain on legs. And this is even before accounting for the fact that the deck can run Dominus Impulse, it can run Dominus Spark. Spark being a very new card to the set and in the game, and it is very powerful just because it works much differently than the original Dominus cards that we got in the set. And then it can really play through a lot of hand traps. The main killers, per se, are Droll Lockbird and Nibiru. But I would still say, even despite those, while it might not be the most represented deck, I think enthusiasts of the strategy, or just people who want to play something different, will definitely pivot to this, because I think it's very strong, especially with the new TCG exclusive.
That's true. Yeah. No, there's not much I can really say about this completely. This is basically just infinite loops. They can stack a ton of things. They do have new synchro options now, which is pretty interesting. There is a lot of things this deck can do now that they have access to both fusion and synchro plays. The Fallen of Albaz support is really good in this deck as well. That's the other, I think, one thing that is somewhat to note. But otherwise, yeah, this is a very good deck.
Yeah. Then, new cards.
Yay!
We will, at this point, we'll go through each of them individually. Oh, I put in the wrong Burning Blade card. All right.
Oh no,
that's my bad. I know what it is. But yeah,
that's fair. That works.
But basically, the Harmonia and Spark and Accusation are the most 3 relevant cards that are being released in this set that we knew about. But the obviously big one, especially given the server that we're on, is the Miracle Ejector, because we didn't know that it was going to be released in this set. If any hero players want to interject when we talk about this, feel free to do so. But with that said, if you have if you have any questions, feel free to let us know now. As I change over to MD Pro, or if you give me 1 second. Oh, no.
Can I talk on Ejector? Or what exactly about Ejector? Just like what it does, or like?
I'm pulling up the cards right now.
You're all good.
Also, thank you, Arknight, for boosting the server. I appreciate you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
All right. And then share screen. Can you see my? Anyway, no, wait. Can you see my screen though? I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I can see it, but Arknight, can you see it as well? That's the real question.
I missed.
Or no, yeah, it's a shit. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Everyone can. Okay, perfect.
Okay, BJ, if you want to talk on, I can invite you if you want, or you can just, or actually, no, you have the right to do it anyway. You can do it freely.
You have the complete right to come in here.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah,
Yep,
we can
perfect.
hear you.
Yep.
Well, okay. So we'll say our piece, and then if there's anything that you want to specifically add, please do so. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
I'll go
Uh,
first because I love heroes to death, if that's okay.
Go ahead. You got it.
Alright. This card is pretty good for heroes, do not get me wrong. It's in fact credible. You get to basically summon this, search out Ian Shuffle. Ian Shuffle basically acts as a additional like a hero like a lives kind of a deal where you target any elemental hero monster and then special summon out another one with a different name. This and then immediately get to search out another Stratos or Shadow Mist, which gives you access to Max Change or another hero monster. Usually your target is going to be Stratos though because it just infinite loops, and it also doesn't lock you whatsoever. And it has an amazing thing which is really good into this meta as well, which is when it's sent to the graveyard in any way whatsoever, target one card in your opponent's graveyard and then banish it. Meaning like for against Cool Tune, you can banish their tuner monsters. Against like Mitsurugi, they don't revive. You have the target, and they have to force out like the revive effect for like their Omni negate. If you go if you go against Predaplant, it can target some of their key cards. There's a lot basically this card can't do. The problem is with this card, in my opinion, and why it's not going to do it, is yes, it is an additional starter, but heroes have never lacked starters and everything. This card is still amazing, but you have to play additionally like 2 bricks in order to make this card decent. You have to play Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, which is the best Neospatian because it specifically says that it has to be sent to you have to send a Neospatian from your deck to the graveyard. You then have to play EN Shuffle, which is very good. Do not get me wrong, but also just a terrible, but also just kind of okay when it is in your hand. It's not, and then also really thing about this card that's just gonna be decent, like not great, is basically like why it does get late a lot of these searches and extenders and everything. It plays heavily, and I mean heavily, into Drone Lockbird because you have to search E and shuffle and then special summon out something else. This card doesn't really do entirely that much. Like it does a lot for the deck, absolutely, but we're still missing Fountain, which is a card that really goes really well with this deck. Absolutely, like very much so, or with this card completely.
All right. I guess I'll go. I'm very conflicted on this card specifically. Okay. I agree with all the good points that it says. But I think ultimately while it is a relevant card in this set and in the hero strategy, I do think it plays the same play pattern. It enables the same play pattern that hero always does, which also just means it gets punished by the same cards that the deck has always been punished by. And I think if we'll look at the other circular afterwards, which is the Drasleia. But I think Ejector has the sort of Konami problem with like making hero support is in which they will make it good enough, or actually this is even better than what they usually do. They'll make it good enough, but they do things to the card that don't necessarily make it the best that it can actually be. And my other problem with this card, my problems with this card really lied with the fact that like Ian Shuffle, let's be honest, is really not a good card. Like the fact that it also procs one of the most prevalent hand traps in the game right now, which is going to be the Retaliating Sea, for no reason, is kind of bad. Secondly, it's a spellcaster monster, which I mean I understand why it is a spellcaster, but that means you just can't use it for link plays. I mean it is your monster. You can use it for like
See, that does kind of suck. My biggest issue with this card is that it's level 3. If it was level 4, and I understand why it's level 3 because the original was also level 3, but if it was level 4, this card would absolutely fix heroes completely. Like you could do like we're gonna get a card in like next set after this called Mask Hero Fountain, which does everything we want for the deck kind of a deal. It doesn't have a lock whatsoever. It lets heroes have a different playstyle with doing rank 4 plays. Uh, and at minimum, it basically allows you to have a free like special summon and everything for heroes. It does something different, and it still does it. Fountain next set is better Miracle Ejector only because of that. But like I understand why they did this in that case. Basically, like if this card was just one level higher, this card would be in my same like in busted. But it's not.
Um, I don't think I fully agree with that. I actually think
That's fair.
no, not the fact that it's like you poo pooing on the card. I actually think
Yeah.
that Fountain is not better Ejector. I think they're basically two sides of the same coin. I
Yeah,
think
that's fair. Yeah.
I think separately they are good. Together they are great. But one without the other is not ideal. Is basically
Yeah.
my
No, you
thing.
got me there. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they work together, but I think my main qualm would be like not to say that if you put the two together, it'd be a busted card. You know, if you put all those specific things onto one card. Um, so I understand why they had to do some of the things that they did with Ejector, and then splitting it with Fountain, but I don't know. Like I, f- I feel like I would have no, because I don't feel like it would have been good to release them in June. Because I think heroes need Ejector to have any sort of relevant chance into the current meta. So I think they need Ejector. But it would have been really nice to have both of them, is really my main point.
Yeah.
I think
I agree.
Ejector on its own does not do enough to bridge the gap. And I think that's kind of like Konami's problem with this deck in particular. They either release the cards to not have as good or good quality in general, and then the cards that help bridge the gap just come too late.
Hmm.
Um, but we've yapped enough. If BJ is the hero player here, so I'll let him speak.
I mean, I think you made a good Roy made a good summary. I think Fountain and Injector were two halves. I played the pre-releases this weekend with Fountain, like did one Fountain and one E-Call. And the highs you said were there, but you did miss one point. Like you could play under Fua, so I used Ejector to get the favorite contact under Fua. And it had the benefit too of like I got the Thunder Giant a lot easier, an extra push. I would say even though they're bricky, the bricks aren't as bad because I just still made plays extenders with Shuffle and Dolphin to push forward. And I still did stuff like for fun. I played the Vision Hero line. Like I used Vision Hero to get to my plays and then use the Aqua Dolphin to look at their hand and rip. Rip applicable, but the biggest thing was like you're right, it is the bricks. It was like I had hands where I was like, ugh, like I'm adding two extra like card bricks and I'm playing that with like the Destiny Hero cards and like increase. So I think that's like the major downside. But for like the benefits, I was like cooking at the pre-releases. And because they didn't know what was going on, the versatility, people were making like misplays. So like it has the benefit high in practice is really good. But the major downside is you add two extra like not bad, but still bricks. So there has to be a part. I think what Fountain comes, what makes the deck better, because we can like
Hmm.
cut some of those cards and we can extend. Where like I remember like also on the list of like playing Blaze Man, I was kind of conflicted because I didn't want to have more like normal summon monsters, like level 4 normals to play. But I think if we have like Fountain, it will add the issue of like you can extend from hand with certain other elemental hero from other hero cards, and you can play low to the ground. Because do having it did allow me with hands to make like Dark Law and like favorite contact and like under a couple like draws. So it had its advantages of playing a little low to the ground, but I would agree with Royal that like you do need Fountain as like the other missing piece. to really make that card shine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the people in the chat are basically saying, I guess what we didn't really say is that like the Neospatians kind of just need retrains because they're all really bad. Besides
That
Dolphin,
basically,
yeah. Because if the Neospatians were retrained, that would make Ian Shuffle a better card, in a sense.
Yeah. Or at least like it would make it like Ejector send something for like better kind of, you're gonna have a graveyard effect, but like Dolphin in your hand, even though it absolutely there are plays where you can like normal summon it and like check nib and everything like that, which is really good. Opening it sucks most of the
it
time. You just
does.
kind of go ew. And as somebody who loves heroes and actually does think that heroes are going to be decent in this upcoming meta, because Dark Law plus some DPE is like really good into Cool Tune and good into what is it? It's the other one that we were talking about, Cool Tune and Drago Tail. Those are really good. Elfnote, yeah, is also really good as well. Like you can shut down so much with that deck with just those two. But the problem is right now without Fountain, the other half of Fountain, it just becomes a little less good. I think right now, even with this, heroes are like a locals level. Maybe in the future, maybe with Fountain and everything, it may become regional levels. But that's a hard maybe and that's just somebody who's really coping on heroes as well.
Yeah. We had like two discussions, like one via video phone call or
Yeah.
Discord call, and one just written, and I feel like we were very conflicted in how to rate hero, because I think the other thing with like hero or just a lot of the sort of popular rogue strategies is that random people generally aren't going to pull up with hero. I think if you pull up with hero, I feel like you're generally pretty practiced with the deck, especially if we're talking like high level competitive events. I know, I think there was some like YCS recently that had a hero feature match, and the guy looked like he didn't know what he was doing at all. But I think generally, if you're taking hero to like a high level event, you're pretty practiced on the deck. I think usually it comes down to not only the level of the hero player that's playing the deck, but also comes down to are you going to allow hero to be the deck that's that knowledge checks you, which is
Yeah.
which is most road decks. Like you sit across from somebody playing Synchron, Hero, DDD, those sorts of decks, and you're just like, do I know what cards I need to disrupt, or how to use my disruption versus these decks properly to actually stop them from doing something?
The other
So
thing
I
as
don't.
well,
So
like,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, no, yeah. So I don't want to feel like I'm poo pooing the deck, but I think there's just like a fragility to the deck that isn't as enjoyable as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And it should be noted as. Oh, sorry.
yeah.
No.
No.
Thought you were
No,
done.
you're good. You're good. Go,
Okay.
go.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, also the other thing is not to also poo-poo the deck. I love the deck to death. There's also the deck can also play a lot of things depending on how you build it. If you're going for like the classic like Jaden BR builds and everything, it can run super poly. It can run it can run droplets. It runs all the good stuff as well that can check the meta that we're going to discuss about. But if you build it more towards like start getting Dark Law out kind of view, it can still run Impulse. It can run the new Sparks card, which is nasty. You can also build like you still play it in the way where you can still do all that stuff where it's like a dark version. There are many different ways post Fountain to build heroes now because it allows more versatility. But the problem is for us right now, the deck is a bit fragile to most fair hand traps, which is what Cool Tune is going to play. It's one of those double-edged swords. If you are going to show up the heroes and everything, you're probably well practiced within the deck, and you can run some of the best hand traps in the meta and board breakers as well. But that's about it. I guess let's move on to the other cards now because I think we've talked too much about this.
All right, no worries.
All right.
let's start with Harmonia.
The best card in this entire set, baby. Let's go. All right. For those who don't know what this card does, it's a when your opponent activates a monster effect on field, you can reveal this and 5 cards. Usually, it's what Royal's adding right now, like 5 other synchro monsters to be exact. And basically, you reveal those 5 cards, and it does based on up to those effects. 2, you special summon it. 4, you can dump one of them. 6, 6, you can pop a card on field. This card is nasty. It is also very versatile, more than actually people think. And for example, when we're going over Red Dragon Archfiend, for example, like this deck plays nothing but synchro monsters. You can play in Cool Tune. Guess what? That's also all synchro monsters. And usually, if you have like 5 free extra deck slots, kind of deal, you could put in the 5 like generic synchro monsters that love to be sent to graveyard, and just immediately have like nasty. And surprisingly enough, with like in branded synchro and everything, because there is some versions where they're cutting stuff that you can play this card, and it is extremely nasty because you get to send the like the Ecclesia monster, which then puts some can shuffle back and like pop, like out a card on field. Fire King, literally, this is for free for Drac stuff because you just send one of the Drac synchro that summons a meteor, and then boom, you get like free cards. You can reveal. You can go for this card is just so generic in general, and it's gonna be a very tough interruption. Usually what you would do with this is you would reveal the 5. Hail is fortunately banned, but that was a card that used to do it. And you would summon you would send the graveyard the level 6 guy that Royal has, the guy between the Drac and when Pegasus, yes, Golden Cloud Beast Malong. Basically what this guy does in particular right here is you can send this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls or turn it to the hand. Basically, you just go those 2 here, and it's 1 free pop and 1 set return to 1 shuffle. Usually, you do it on an extra deck monster. And so, literally by this self, this is basically basically get rid of 2 card targets for free for most decks, and so it is nasty. This card is absolutely the best non-engine support right now, and just because of that, it is very versatile. The only downside is you have to play 5 synchro monsters, but in decks where this thing fits, it slaps so hard.
It's getting to the point that I've seen high level DB replays where they actually are even using it in branded. Like, it's crazy how good this card is.
This card is too generic and probably won't. It's going to see a lot of play in everything. This card being a pop 2 is just by itself is just too nasty.
Following that up, we'll talk about Spark. We're not doing this in order, by the way. But
yeah,
but I think what makes Spark so good. Okay, so general effect: target one monster your opponent controls, banish it, and then if you have no traps in your graveyard, your opponent can special summon 1 monster from their hand. If you activate this card from your hand, basically locks you out of any effects that aren't dark and light. That said, most decks that can run this will run this, just because it's such a good play, because it basically procs anytime your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or the graveyard, which is like every deck in the game right now, basically, even if it's just Ash Blossom. I think the fact that you can go basically end phase and then they just dominant spark anything that would be problematic on your next turn, like the IP, like goodbye IP, RS, goodbye RS, I think it just has so much more versatility than the impulses, the purges. Like, those cards are like balanced in the sense that they have to react to specific interactions, versus this, which is just like You just need to meet a specific criteria that most decks will just achieve anyway, and you can make it easier for your board. I think yes, it does usually shut you out of like most of the non-engine that you have in your hand, but most of the decks in this current format, as long as they can get rid of one of your major like monster end board pieces, they'll be very fine doing that. Especially since a lot of them are not tied to like being spell trap negates.
Yeah. In addition, like usually when they do lock it, you're usually doing this around during the end phase of your turn. So like you're gonna already use up like your Fuas or your Ash Blossoms or your Perulias or anything else or Drolls before this even happens. Like this card is a thing where it is supposed to be a board breaker more than a board like an actual like hand trap kind of a deal. And there is very little counterplay to this card, which is very nice. The only downside is with this card is because it only locks you into light or darks in general. It does mean that this card really loves to be an engine heavy decks. Examples being Branded or Mitsurugi.
Yeah, I really think there's really not much more to add to that.
Next card on the list, Solemn Acquisition, the third best card in this entire set. This card basically says you can activate this card by reviewing the turn was set by reviewing one other spell and trap you control. When you activate a card that was when a card or that spell or trap card is activated, you can activate one of these effects. Pay 1,500, negate the activation and destroy it. And then for the rest of this turn, either player can activate that card or pay 3,000. Just banish it. Get rid of it all. Get rid of everything. This card is nuts, and it's going to stop all board breakers. It is the card, and also in particular, what makes some Radiant Typhoon actually worse a little bit is because you can just go pay 3,000 life points. That's a nice MST and everything. Can we banish all your copies, and they have no way to get it back most of the time. This card does a lot. Like is going to be a decent decent side deck staple. It's not going to replace the Solemn Judgment in your deck, absolutely, because that card is infinitely better. But it will stop. But this card definitely stops like all like the Cool Tune spells and traps, for example. Like what is it? There, Cool Tune. The Quick Play spell exactly. You play this against them, and they just go, oh, cool, there goes all my copies. I can no longer quick synchro for the rest of the turn. Oh, I can't, like for the rest of the duel kind of a deal, because they're all banished. Oh, I'm going to, against Radiant Typhoon, MST, we do that example. What do we got here? DoomZ, that's a nice equip spell. Now you can't use it anymore. What are we talking about here now? From Dragotail, that's great. You have just turned off all their copies of their spell cards, which, depending on the ban list, is just the one copy, so whatever. Or my personal favorite, out of all of these and everything, you know how you absolutely hate counter traps sometimes? You could just set this, reveal any spell that you just kept in hand, and congratulations, you have just turned off all those counter traps for free. It is basically like an additional poker card. You set it immediately, and you can just immediately outplay like a bunch of spells and traps. It's cracked. The problem with this card in particular is, yes, it is good, but in order to activate it, you still need to have other spell and trap card in hand. If you want this card, you're usually going to always side deck it for going first place, because you're never going to want to draw this card whatsoever, even on your going second. Because like, oh yeah, this is great. I still want another like this kind of a deal. I still want to draw something else, and in particular, this card is just nasty for a lot of things.
Yeah,
I probably did say Acquisition and everything, but I don't remember what the actual card's name is in the TCG. This is something different.
Yeah, I think this card just punishes you for playing a deck that doesn't have a diverse engine or has like over reliance on resolving one specific card, which is like, I don't know, most decks.
Yeah.
Like Hero Poly gone, Junk Speeder gone. I'm not the Martha for Exo Sister gone. This card is just, it's so terribly designed, if I'm being quite honest with you.
This card's gonna go to 1 eventually. It's probably not going to 1 till the end of this year. But this card is so nasty.
Yeah, no, I agree with Sunny. This is like that card where we're cooking in the lab and is like, yo, this is the money card.
Yeah, this is the card that, and the best part about it is, it's probably going to be a two of in your side deck, because you're not taking out Solemn Judgment. You're absolutely, because like you still need it, but like you could play 3 copies. Don't get me wrong, but like usually what is going to be is going to be 2 of this and the 1 of Solemn Judgment, because you probably don't want to play 4 cards going like for your side deck, for like side deck patterns and whatnot.
Yeah. After that, we can talk about Leia, the Blood Tree Dragon Princess, which is just plant / dragon circular. But typically, yeah, you send 1 level 4 or lower plant monster from your deck to the graveyard. This is cost. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, its level becomes the Scent monsters. So this will primarily see play in Predaplant, but you could also use it in your very locals level Rose Dragon deck if you want to do so. But also it does have the added effect, if you banish this card and a plant card from your graveyard, you can special summon 1 dragon monster from your hand or graveyard. So it's also extension, and it locks you into dragon and plant monsters for the rest of the turn. This card is busted in a vacuum, but because only so few decks can play it, it's not as amazing.
This is a fine circular, yeah.
But also the fact that it's a tuner and can get you into your immediate synchro plays, and then again sends for cost is just so good. It's like you can't really interact with this card comparatively to other circulars that are in the game.
Yeah, the only downside, like Roy was saying, is you are locked into plants and dragons, and there's not that many. Like usually, like when you do this, there's not that many good dragons or fusion, like or not fusion, but like plant monsters and everything that can be used with this card. That being said, our Predaplant is really good example of this, where it is very much cracked. A good example like of this is just allows you to immediately go into Crystal Ring Synchro Dragon with this 1 card, and then start your Predaplant plays, which is decent.
To follow up is a related card, which is Apex Polymerization, better known as Super Duper. Basically, non-respondable, so very similar to Super Poly. Pay 2,000 life points, target an effect monster on the field. Special summon monster from your extra deck with the same type and attribute at a different level, and you can either fusion summon using that card and the targeted monster, or you can send the special summon monster to the graveyard. This is again another card that's mainly meant for Predaplants, but it does have applications outside of it. One of the big ones is Lunalight, where you can just use it as a normal summon with one of your worst names, and then use that. You typically have to pair it with specific names in the archetype to do it. But also the fact is that you can use this as non-respondable removal, though that won't really come up as much outside of you playing mirror matches for whatever reason.
Like I know, for example, like in Predaplant in particular, it is really good because it just gives you the free names immediately, and there are graveyard effects for their fusion monsters. And Lunarland in particular, it is. I think this is really good in the deck, especially post ban list, as basically it allows you to. It makes Liger easier to summon a little bit better. It makes it so if you get impermed like on your first action and you don't have an extender, but you have this, you can immediately go into Perfume, which is really good. It also allows for additional, like, it also does do some things in Heroes, but like it's not as good in Hero. Like it's not probably gonna get played at all in Heroes, but it can get you access to favorite hero or your Flame Wingman, or it could make a decent Thunder Giant on turn one as well with it if it. But you're probably not going to do that whatsoever in Heroes because you already have a lot of options to get the fusions. Yeah, but that's about it for this card. I think this is a decent card, but the problem is it's good it's only good for fusion decks, and it's kind of hard to do that in fusion decks.
Yeah. The next two cards are tied together. Those being Assault Sonic Warrior and Junk Signal. I don't remember exactly if they were announced way before in the leaked like card list, but these are both cards that support the Synchron strategy, which I am very personally fond of, even though I know a lot of people in this server are not very fond of it at all. But I'll go through the cards, and if Death Echo wants to hop on stage and provide his own input, he is most gladly to do so. But we'll start with the monster first. If you control Junk Warrior, Assault Mode activate, or a card that mentions either of those cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Synchron monster or one Assault Mode activate from your deck to your hand. And then it has a nice chain block effect that is generally pretty useless for the most part.
We love the chain blocks. That's all it's good for.
Yeah. I actually really like this card. I think if you're at any bit familiar with the strategy for Synchrons, the fact that it just has so much breadth in what it can search. I mean, you can, if you want to play Assault Mode, have fun, but most of the time you're using this to search like the Scrap Warrior, which gives you even further extension because Scrap Warrior is much like the Microcoder and the Kill 2 monsters. You can use it from the hand for your synchro plays. And I think this card is just very good for the strategy, especially when you're pairing it with what is typically, oh my god, is it Psyreflect? Yeah, Mr. Psyreflector there, because you're summoning Psyreflector off of Emergency Teleport, which means that Emergency Teleport is a starter for the Synchron deck. And I think it's just very cool that it's basically like these two cards that we're going to talk about. It's basically like, hey, the Miracle Ejector with Fountain thing, we're gonna just skip all that and we're just gonna put Assault Sonic Warrior and Junk Signal in the same pack just to make the synchro players happy. And I know the synchro players are happy.
Junk Signal is the slightly better of the two, in my opinion, just because of its second effect of if you respond when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your synchro monster's effect, negate it. Meaning finally, Junk. What is it? Junk or what the guy who summons out a bunch of Speeder. Thank you, Junk Speeder. Literally has a counter finally, which means like, oh cool, I have more copies of Called by the Grave for the deck.
Yeah, the deck was already at the point good enough to insulate Speeder, so that's not really the prop. I think the thing with this is that it now has an answer to breakers, because you can pair this with stuff like Zaylin, for example. So like, and the fact that if you don't necessarily need to use it for its negate effect, and you can use it's even forms of extension to play around Droll and other hand traps, just because it just needs you to tribute one monster And it could be a generic monster, which I think, and it helps with dodging targeting effects. I agree. I think Jug Signal is the better of the two, but I think they very much function similarly to the Miracle Ejector Fountain thing. That they kind of like, I don't want to say they need each other. I think they're less reliant on the other. But I think it's really nice that Synchron has both of them, just because it really ups the ceiling and the consistency. Not that the deck is inconsistent, but I think these cards really help to bridge it into the modern day.
All right,
but if Death Echo wants to,
he can't talk right now, unfortunately. But he's been giving his comments and the opinions and everything. Just more like allows double protection for Speeder with Zaylin and Signal, and basically structured deck like with the structured deck issue, Signal is just a bonus on top of it, which is perfect. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, now say it with me, folks, and we move on to the Synchro Monster. All roads lead to Habakiri.
Yeah, I don't like this card.
This card is nasty a bit. Like, okay, so don't get me wrong, it's only good in a Red Resonator here. It's absolute, like, because it does require a Resonator tuner. But the thing is, like, this card searches a lot, and the Resonator's package isn't even that big, like, bad as you think it is, because, like, you can just any level 4 plus some the guy who special summon themselves and Crimson Call, I believe it is, or Crimson the continuous spell basically allows you to immediately like just make this guy for free. So you get to search. You basically when this guy's sync with someone, take a level 8 or higher monster from your deck that cannot be normal summoned whatsoever. So Habakiri. And you just add it to your hand. This does search a bunch of other things. It also searches the Bestial Lubellion, which allows you to then go into Magnema. It searches Plasma, which is pretty nasty. So the thing is also in particular about the Bestial Lubellion is you then search Magnamut. Magnamut immediately can special like banish any of your Resonators here. And then you can then Synchro Summon immediately to make Dispattern revive the banished guy. Also, obviously, when you're searching Lubellion, when you're banishing off of Magnamut, you activate Magnamut's effect. And then you basically have you can then tribute the Magnamut. And guess what? Guess what? You get the search off of Magnamut. Harmonia. So this is a nasty piece of cardboard here. It searches the new Black Chaos Swordsman. It searches a lot of good stuff coming up. It also has an okay effect at the start of the damage step, where you can this card battles a level 5 or higher monster, you can destroy it, but no one cares about that. We're only caring about the searching here because this card's immediately getting synchroed out off the field.
Yeah. Following that up, is Lahamu the messenger, or I think it is Rahamu in the TCG, but it's a generic Link 2 that once special summoned Link summon on the field while face up, you can normal summon one level 5 or higher without tributing. And during the main phase, you can normal summon 1/5 or higher monster. So it's 2 normal summons. The card that the deck that this most supports is Dark Lords, which I think it's really nice for them to have a card like this, because it gives them another option if they don't necessarily need to go into the Condemned Witch Link 2, which I know is still a very relevant part of their strategy. But the fact that you can convert your bricks into actual meaningful bodies, I think is very nice. And even then, I think it's just generally a very good card for decks that run a lot of like higher level main deck either requirements or just things that they would like to have on the field.
This, however, does have one downside, and I think everyone's thinking of. Yes, you can normal summon all the floodgates as well, such as Majesty's Fiend or Majesty's or whatever it is, the one that says your opponent can't activate special summon monsters, or neither player can special summon monsters.
Yeah, it's Ruler and Fiend.
Ruler and Fiend. So those two off the bat. And combine that with a clown tune and everything, or like a clown crew, which really has a lot of extra bodies on the field. This card is a little bit nasty when it comes to that. So it is a little bit. It does let you summon out the floodgates for free, but it is decent. Clown crew isn't too much to talk about right now. It's much better post support whenever we're getting it. But for now, that all you have to know about the deck is the Floodgate deck. Yeah. Yes, high entertainer. Hi, Cloud Crew mentioned.
Following that up is the 4 Charmers in Profusion. It's called Charmers Quartet something. I don't remember the name. It'll be in the stream. It gains 300 attack for each different attribute on the field, but once while face up on the field during the main phase, you can target 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types, or 2 monsters with the same type but different attributes in your graveyard and special summon them. But this card and also those monsters can't be used for fusion, synchro, XEs, or link material. I guess the best way I can explain this is, have you ever had like Dragoon and like another spellcaster on the field at the same time? This card helps you do it. I honestly genuinely think this card is actually very cool in its applications, and I think it's really nice that it's printed. Obviously it doesn't really support the Charmers archetype. It's really just more used generically. But I think this card is like ready and willing to be just put into either like the most toxic, disgusting slop piles out there, or just to be a really nice card in general. But I thought it was like just super nice, super relevant to mention, just because I think it has just so many applications to it, to be honest.
It has a decent amount, and it is a card that probably should be at least like looked at on the radar for like, I don't know. If you haven't seen any of the new support that's coming out, Spellcaster Slop is a thing that's happening in the OCG. That is decent to talk about, and this does like fit perfectly right in. Problem is it with it right now in particular. It's just that it's a Link 4. That's the main issue. If it was a Link 3, it would be so good. But the fact that it requires 2, like at minimum, like a lot of materials, it's just hard to justify it right now.
And then final card is Leviathan.
Yes, this boy. During the main phase, you contribute 1 other fire monster, then target 1 other fire monster in your graveyard with the same original type, but has a lower level and special summon it. If a face down card in your spell and trap card would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. Basically, just decent fire support in general. This is something I was looking into for Fire King and everything, because it is decent in order to summon out a Pawnex or Okenex kind of deal for free. But the problem is with this card as well. This card has a lot of good applications, and it's a free Link 2 Fire Monster, which means Promethean Princess is now basically free. The main problem with this card is that it's only really good in fire decks, and there's just not that many good fire decks right now.
Yeah. I know this is technically supposed to be indirect support to Rescue Ace, much similar to how Ichiki Sayori Hime was the indirect support for Exo Sisters. But I think obviously this just has more generic application, because I think Sayori just reads Exo Sister card, while this reads, yes, it supports Rescue Ace, but it doesn't have any specifics that stop you from playing it in other fire-based strategies. I think the card's good, but yeah. I think it's just good.
Yeah, Link 2 for fire, like for a Fire King that isn't the fire, like the Charmer and everything, is really good. This card can help you revive the Pawnex or or like something else in general. But the problem is with it that it's just we were missing that really good fire deck for it. And there's also for Fire King as well. Even though I have been testing it, usually you're not like you already have a billion ways to revive from graveyard anyhow. So there's no real point to playing this.
That said, if does anyone have any questions? Because we're gonna go through some of the deck examples that Mr. Cows provided.
Yes. I made them as generic as I could to help, like just generic things. So it should be noted that when we go through these examples, that these are just as generic as I could what you possibly might be seeing. Cool tune. This is very simple as well. Also, any questions I'll answer in the middle of this. Don't worry. Basically, you're gonna see 3 of this. Pot of Prosperity is free. You're gonna see all the all the hand traps, Harmonias. If people might even side the Harmonia as well and play even more unfair stuff. Moonlit Chill is really good with this deck as well. And any of the level 3 turn monsters are decent. Basically, at this you're gonna see just a lot of hand traps in general. This is a standard example of this.
You joined late. I don't mind going back.
Yeah, not a problem. Back here's a good example of what we have here.
So Harmonia, the things in the side deck are the examples of what you would reveal and send. Packbit basically works very similar to Snake Eyes. Okay.
It's them.
I know it's a spell card. Subversion, where it puts the card into the spell and trap. This you do have to discard a card for it, but it can be a very relevant way, especially if you're playing a deck that specifically uses like pen scales. You can put one of the monsters into the pen scale and just ruin your opponent's plays.
This is really good into a Power Pet Patron as well,
Yeah, because you're locking one of the scales. Power Patrons obviously need to be scaled, so very good card. Wind Pegasus basically gives you a lot of... it protects you from being OTK'd, essentially, because you can banish it when a monster is destroyed by card effect. And you can shuffle into the deck so you don't get OTK'd. Along...
This is the one you're usually sending with them with a Harmonia. This card basically, when it's sent to the graveyard, you target a face-up card your opponent controls and return it to hand. So basically, it makes it so it becomes 2 interruptions in 1. Especially if you don't want to discard whatsoever. Like for example, if there's like 2 problematic monsters on the field, or you like the ring 10 is about to come down the Varudras, you can just pop the level 10 with a Harmonia, and then bounce back the other level 10 with that's not a good example, but it's an example. Next one is Drak. Yeah.
The rest of these are I was gonna say the rest of these are pretty niche, because this essentially is more so for very specific deck, which is the Fire King Drak deck, which allows you to summon Meteor, which is basically a nuke. It's Thunder Giant, but from the graveyard, in a sense.
The only one we don't have on this list as well that's decent is Omega as well. That card, it's not going to be used, but it's basically like you put this back and something else, and your Harmonia becomes like another pop, essentially. So like if you don't want to like bounce it, you just go Omega, then you go Omega, target this, and like another card in the graveyard. And just shuffle this, and now your Harmonia is back to having like another pop.
Herald of the Arclight is very prevalent in OCG and
Master Duel,
and would be in Master Duel, but Harmonia is not in the game yet. But essentially, this is another way to get your ritual plays going. Luelith was something that Death Echo mentioned specifically. Gives you ways to special summon, for example, your not Cartesia, Quem.
Yeah, Quem.
Yeah. This card is, and then if you play any decks that rely on fusions, you can use this as, again, like that sort of pseudo breaker. So like if you can run Harmonia and Fallen and Virtuous, it makes it super simple to start board breaking before you even start going into your plays.
Harmonia plus Fallen on the Virtuous is at minimum at minimum 3 disruptions on your opponent's turn.
But yeah, but these are like the most common copies or common cards that you would see. And then there are probably other ones that are not listed here that are just too hyper specific for us to mention. But I hope that answers your question.
All right, back on to the deck list because I didn't see anybody else here. We were going to DoomZ's good. So this is DoomZ's general thing. Basically, it's a decent amount of power patrons. There is Melodious the Pure here right off the bat, which is going to be, I will say, very important. Imperm the heck out of this. This is like the starter for most of this. If there's anything you want to imperm or like in this deck, it's just this, like 100%, because it stops like everything. In addition, the spell, like just standard spells and traps here. They can play Crown, which is good. They can play Super Poly. They can play Droplets. They have a bunch of. They just don't have a lot of non-engine, unfortunately, but it's still very much fine.
Yeah. So the main card that most of us will just have to address is this one specifically, which is what we mentioned earlier. And even if you pop this thing still has a floating effect.
Yeah.
But again, the things that we mentioned earlier, or that I mentioned earlier specifically, that help enable this strategy are the Regulus, which obviously is one of those negates that tribute themselves, very much like the Ilia Sylvia, which means that you have to have at minimum 2 different ways to sort of interact with your opponent. But if they're going into the Varudras, they can negate anything further, or the card that I had mentioned previously, which is the Utopic Future Zexal, which basically nullifies Sky Striker. It nullifies Radiant Typhoon. Like, this deck just has so many ways to basically just say you're not popping this card no matter what you do. Yeah. You basically draw the kaiju or pass or just
draw the lava golem, baby. Just draw the lava golem, and that's all you can do. It's awful.
And the fact is that that this deck can release it can go into the Springen's Merrymaker, into the Sargus, search the Regulus, and then Regulus can attach any of the cards, and then basically it can use the other main deck monster effects or the spell effects to pop what is attached to Regulus to actually keep comboing. So even if you're having to use it for like a Nibiru installation or stuff of that nature, like it can still just keep comboing off once it sets up the Regulus. And then, although in this list specifically he put in Crown, the more common play that I've seen is that they're using Super Poly, which is mainly for Theseus, but it just generally has the slots to use it for the Mud Dragon, the Garou, etc. And then the Shifter and the Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea helps it because Springen's Merrymaker is just a generic rank 4. So it can just convert the Retaliating Sea into Xyz material.
Also, this deck doesn't care about Banish whatsoever. This deck
No, go keep going. Sorry.
I was gonna say, no, you're fine. It doesn't care whatsoever about Banish. All the effects still trigger when they get destroyed. Doesn't matter if they hit the graveyard or not. So basically, like, there's equip spells or the power patrons themselves can still special summon out everything. It's just, this deck is just nasty, and it's definitely, I think, one of the top decks to worry about. Its main weaknesses, though, are it can't go second for the life of it. Like, it could try, absolutely, but like, if you know like the key stuff to negate and everything in this deck, or you play around all the board breakers well, this deck can barely function.
Yeah, no, I have nothing more to add to that.
Next deck, then let us go. All right.
That would put us onto Elfnote.
All right, so Elfnote in this case, yeah, go ahead.
No, okay. So
Sorry.
the thing I will preface is that there's so many example deck lists that we could have put for Elfnote. I just went with the easiest one, which is Elfnote Fiendsmith. But Cows did provide a large amount of different ones we could have done.
Yeah.
I just went with the simple one.
I think this one is the most one you're seeing personally as well, because mainly because it's easy to access. This deck does a lot, but does a lot with it, and also the main reason, it makes Caesar, and Caesar is just busted in this format. That's about it. They can play a bunch of other things. They can still. The only downside is that it can't it does. It can barely play Harmonia. It you can take out one of these cards here. Like you can take out the Cross Sheep, for example, and use that to put in Marlong or something like that. But usually you're ending on the Spell and Trap Negate, Caesar, Crystal Ring, and maybe a Hand Whip, basically. This deck is also really good at playing through hand traps, so if you play if you have two of them, for example, your last two cards are getting hand ripped, or one of your cards is getting hand ripped, and now you're playing with a 3-card hand against them, a 1 monster negate, 1 spell and trap negate, and Caesar. So I hope you drew the out.
Yeah, I think obviously the other thing to note is that it's so easy for this deck to get into Fiendsmith plays while still continuing their combo after the fact, because it's very easy to access Armadi's Keeper of Boundaries, I guess it's called. And if you don't even run that for whatever reason, you can also get to Fabled Levisable very easily, and you can use this monster as disruption if you don't necessarily need to go through it. And then it very much synergizes with the Power Patron package, which is another way to play the deck, especially something like Power Patron Shadow Beast, because this basically gives you insulation before you even start going into anything related to your plays, just because it reads, if you try to negate any of my Power Patron cards, you will not be doing so, basically.
Yeah. In addition, as well, if Caesar does get hit, Power Patron is the second best version of this deck. It's not it is really good as well, but the main issue with that version is that it plays heavily into Nib. This deck does lose to Nib very hard, and that's why the Caesar is there most of the time, because it checks the Nib, and then the Power Patron, and then the rest of the stuff checks the rest of the hand trap, so it's not that bad.
Following that up,
Predaplant.
This is the Exordio del Delista list. There's not really good examples of the deck, but I think this is just a very clean list, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree. This is the clean list. It's just something that I think everyone will if you are going to see it, this is probably what people would play. There's a bunch of other things they're still testing out. There's Jess's list at which she was experimenting with. There's there's Death Echo's version. There's a bunch of other people's versions. This deck is very flexible. I personally like this list a lot because it's just the most straightforward out of the bunch.
The thing that we didn't mention in the previous thing, Fusion Substitute is really good into this deck, just because it gives you so much recursion. You're already getting recursion off of the Following the Virtuous, but this card also gives you recursion after the fact to keep going, and then it has pretty good slots for non-engine. We're at 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 is pretty good. Well, 16.
15 is very good. 16 is very good for this deck. In particular, you're noticing how a lot of these decks are also running Spark and Purge, because you just don't care. Your Ash is only there for the Fua, and the Fua is there for everything else. So these cards already are very synergistic with each other.
Yeah.
Like this is a good example for a list of what you're most likely going to see non-engine wise. Like 3 random slots that probably don't matter. The Fallen Virtuous might get hit to 1, and I still think it's cracked. You're gonna see the Fua, you're gonna see the Ashes, you're gonna see the Damas Sparks, and then maybe you might see like the Impulses or like something else. Like this, this is kind of nasty.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that all the fusion spells, like we're at 3 specific ones, all work super well. In which that if you draw them, they're not terrible to draw. Obviously,
Yeah, that's the most important part.
Yeah, just so they're all highly searchable. They're all highly effective within their own means, and provide and just landing an instant fusion for the Ambulino Lides or whatever it's called. Yeah, it just gives you so much advantage off of minimal commitment.
And of course, Super Poly does work really well into this deck. Like, I mean, like in particular, probably not as much as into Cool Tune, but like for the other stuff as well, it does really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I guess that's all the list. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions at
Any
all?
questions whatsoever?
Because at this point, we're gonna go into
Tier list and whatnot.
Decks and hand traps and board breakers and all that.
Yeah. And like it should be noted that most of the decks that I create are just guidelines in general. You can do whatever you want here. Like I just do what you're probably going to see, what is probably the best. What decks will we be excited to see? Good transition question. Good transition question. Here's what let's go on to the next list where we actually are going to see all the decks that were expected.
All right, we'll go back.
There we go.
Slide. All right.
So best decks here in the room. Go ahead. Sorry, World.
All right, I will say there are specific decks that. Okay, so last presentation we did, we very much agreed on every placement that was listed. I think this time we did not. So but besides the top ones we agreed on both.
Mm-hmm.
But B and C, I think were a lot more contentious. So we'll go over those afterwards. But I'll let him go over the top decks.
Yeah. It should also be noted as well. This is like debatable with also with like ban list as well, because all this can absolutely change immediately. So best 3 decks, obviously, Cool Doom is gonna be the best deck. Like we talked about why it does everything, perfect hand knowledge. Draco Tail is still in this meta, even probably post ban list, because it is still is still very much nasty. It still does it still has the spell and trap negates. It still shuffles back, which just stops everything. It also they could play on your opponent's turn and still bounce back, so it also is perfect disruption. Mitsurugi, very good deck as well. I will state, in my opinion, Mitsurugi, like right now, is not a good engine piece. There's too much stuff going on where there's too many fair hand traps going around or like non-fair stuff that it is just decent. Like that you can't really access that engine consistently. But especially since there's not really that many decent bridges. And even so, as a purist Mitsurugi, it is very good into the rest of these decks. It has the Omni Negate, it plays a crazy amount of non-engine, and it can slot in like all the best board breakers in this format. DoomZ is very high up as well. This one I think is the only reason why is just because a lot of people are going to have like outs to it. It's kind of like the Lunar Light of the format where there are going to be kaijus, board breakers, but if it does go off, and it also just can't go second that well, but if it can go off well and it can break boards, it does like set up an unbreakable board. Malice is extremely high on this list because as we talked about for at least these top 2 the deck list, they need their graveyard. Shifter is insane against the deck. Like Di-Fi is going to be insane. Banish stuff is going to be insane. This deck plays super well in the Cool Tune. This deck plays decent into this. And Mouse is still like kicking, by the way, guys. It won like literally today of all things. The it was in top 2 of Nats. Like this deck is crazy, and I hate it. Radiant Typhoon. This could be lower in the future, could be higher. Depends. It has a decent matchup into Cool Tune. It has a decent matchup into a Drago Tail. It's okay into. It is still a really decent control deck. The problem with it is like it does have a good amount of weaknesses and it is easy to interrupt. So this could be higher. This could very much be lower. Sky Striker is the best control deck in my opinion of this format. It is insane going second. It has the tools to out everything for going first, and it also has a really good cool 2 matchup because most of the time that like you just like take control of the monster and they just can't do anything, and then you just blink it off and then you just go crazy. B tier is more regional levels for what we've read on. Branded could be higher in this one, but I'm not. But like that's more towards like me being speculative on the ban list as well for me and Royal. Magnet Warriors is really good. Has a lot of insane stuff into it. Lunalight, the problem also like this is a ban list speculative for us. This could be higher in the future because it has a really good matchup into everything, but like it could be lower. It's really the problem with Lunalight right now is a lot of people are also going to be running kaijus in my opinion next format. Like Lava Golem's going to cook this deck. Some of the fair hand traps are going to cook this deck. It doesn't have a much easy matchup into the top 3 decks as well. Cool Tune, like by itself, like yeah, if you make Liger, it can't really out it. But against Drago Tail, it can do stuff. And Mitsurugi, this deck. I mean, this deck has a struggle with Mitsurugi sometimes, in my opinion. There is a lot of things. Predaplant's also really good in this case. Elfnote as well could be higher, but that's also up to debate depending on stuff. Yummy has finally everybody. Yummy is a little bit dead here. It might also be because of the ban list as well. The variants can change. The Fiendsmith stuff are decent. There are still decent stuff here, but the problem is, I mean, I love Yummy to death in me. What can I say? But the problem is it has a terrible, and I mean almost unwinnable matchup against Cool Tune. The level modulations completely destroy this deck. You can't make anything good. The only best deck out of this is Azamina Yummy, in my opinion, because that deck, is, like, at least that one can somewhat play around Yummy that well, but you can't make any of the level 2 synchros. Basically, Cool Tune is unwinnable. Orcust, it can find its way up there. It's still pretty good deck, and its control schemes are good. Vanquish Soul, if they ban Ripper, then yeah, this deck is in B tier. But if it's but if anything else, if they just keep it as the same as it is, this deck can be A tier as well. Could very much be higher. Red Dragon Archfiend, I think actually is a good regional deck as well. Mainly because this deck this deck can absolutely cook. It has a lot of room for non-engine. There is no locks except for Synchro Lock, which you don't care about for a lot of stuff. We have Clown Crew also in as a regional event. This deck is just floodgatey as hell, but like floodgates can easily top regionals. For C, Archmage.
Wait.
Go.
Let me contribute. Jeez.
I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast. Yes.
No. All right. No, because we had so, like I said, SA. We were
very much agreed on.
We very much agreed on the Sky Striker thing was more like he told me, and I was like, "Oh, the logic is sound." Not that I doubt Sky Striker, because I do actually think it's a good deck, but but he had to give me the logic for it. All right,
yeah.
B and C were where we kind of had a lot of disagreements. I'll go over the agreements first. Lunalight, I think at best is B. Because yes, it suffers to the fair hand traps. It suffers very heavily to the level modulation that is provided by Cool Tune. It suffers to the DoomZ destruction that's done by DoomZ. And then the fact that Malice and DoomZ can run Shifter. We don't like Shifter at all. It's really bad. Radiant Typhoon is obviously a winnable matchup for the deck, especially if you go first. But if you're going second, MST ruins your life more times than not. And the thing that I do not agree with the fact that Cool Tune can't out Liger. It very much does. It's just a very specific setups in which it can. Because RS, loudness war, like if you can enable RS um, with loudness war, it's over. You will try to limit them to the one liger. If they hit two liger, then yeah, you're probably cooked. But that also means you didn't draw any hand traps. But if
I mean, yeah.
more likely than not, you're gonna limit them to the one liger, and then loudness war plus RS cooks you. You're not winning that matchup. Generally, I am of the strong opinion that if you are going to play a rogue deck into this format, it either has to be Elfnote or it has to be Magnet Warrior. I think Elfnote, just the fact that it has turn 0 plays can help alleviate the boards that you're going to go into. And it obviously runs a decent amount of non-engine. And Magnet Warriors is just like some of the most unfair slop/non-slop gaming that you can get. And that's why I kind of like, when I was organizing this, I put Magnet Warrior first. The deck that I was most specifically like horn on was Vanquish Soul, because Vanquish Soul has very good engine, but it also just comes down to, will you draw the good engine? And also the fact is, like, yeah, the level manipulation isn't great with the deck. And then Clown Crew, not that I needed to be convinced on Clown Crew. The fact that it can run a lot of non-engine, and the fact that it just says at the end of your turn, draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, I think the yummy thing, the yummy, yeah. I was very close to putting Yummy even lower, just because if Cool Tune is your expected matchup, I just do not see how you win that matchup at all. Like your god is gonna have to be by your side if you're gonna want to win that matchup.
Only way you're winning that matchup is with your Azamina cards, not your Yummy cards. That's the thing, because Azamina Yummy is the best version of that deck, and you are not winning it with Yummy cards at all. Yeah, I mean, like the rest, I can see and everything. The only thing that I think I somewhat disagreed, like very much disagreed on with this with B placement was, it was a little bit Lunar Light. I think it could be an A tier, because only reason why I do think like Lunar Light has a struggle with it is post ban list, as much as I hate to say it and everything, I think Liger is 100% going to one next ban list, and if they hit that one Liger, you might as well just scoop it up.
I don't see it getting hit, because I think it just doesn't do enough. Like, I think you get so hard checked by the fair hand traps. It's just like, it's insane. As much as I would love to say that super duper polymerization is a buff, I just don't think it's a buff at all. But I also do think if it is to get hit by the ban list, it's mainly because, like, move on, brother. You know, like they do with all of these sorts of decks. Like, move on, play another deck, buy another deck. We need to make money. That sort of deal. I don't think it's like I don't think it's a ban list future proof deck, because even then, even if you don't decide to hit the Liger and you decide to hit the Baguska, you're hitting this deck meaningfully in some sort of way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess moving on to C tier. Basically, all these decks just kind of can't function in the top, like for the top decks. Like, they all just struggle in some way or another. C is the only one I disagree with was C that I think we had struggle on was Archmage. I think Archmage is at least into B tier in my opinion post support, but
we did not agree. We did not disagree. I actually no. The one that we disagreed on specifically was Hero.
Oh, that's right. That was Hero was the other.
Archmage. I put in C, but I said could be higher.
That's right.
You never addressed it.
I never addressed it because I'm an idiot. That's fair.
Okay.
I will take that out.
If somebody wants to come up on the stage and talk about it, we'll talk about it. But I'll allow him to speak his position, because he basically thought Hero was B, and I thought Hero was C.
So Hero is B in my opinion, only because mainly because post Fountain, not this month. I 100% think for this first month, Hero is a C tier deck. Absolutely. But once you get the access to Fountain and everything, that is consistent access to Dark Law. And as we've talked about, at least with Malice and everything, why it's A tier is because of the banish effects and how it deals with all these other decks whatsoever. Like, it absolutely cooks Cool Tune, which is going to be the most popular deck. It absolutely can cook a Draco Tail. It's nasty. It's good. And it also allow a bunch of things. You can play it with them like rank 4 stuff as well. You could play a bunch like a good like you get to play a bunch of other stuff now with have you seen Jaden BR's list with them with like the no hero lock and everything, which is nasty. There is a bunch of stuff like post support where it will double Omni negate plays through a bunch of fair hand traps, and Dark Law plus DPE cooks a lot of these decks right off the bat. The problem is right now is that this deck, the problem is like you have to draw a lot of engine. If you hit the Dark Law with a Cool Tune, it's just kind of dead unless you play 2 Dark Law. The extra deck is so tight that it just makes it disagreeable. I think that this is at least a low tier for regional events. Like, absolutely. Like, it's something that I see people running, like, can be playing, but I don't think, because of everything else, that it is good. Like, good into anything else. Like, you're only, like, basically, it's Dark Law and DPE that are making this thing, and they are consistent, but there's no point after that.
Yeah. Okay. So my argument, I thought it was C from the go. I don't agree with him at all. So the way that I've always looked at Hero is the same way that I look at Lunalight, because they basically are very much 2 sides of the same coin. They lose to a lot of the fair hand traps. Lunalight can play versus some of the non-fair hand traps. But like some of the Hero engine is just way more expansive than the Lunalight engine. So it dies harder to a lot of the fair hand traps because it gives you a lot of redundant or just bad hands. Also, while I agree that Dark Law checks like 95% of this list, how consistently are you getting to Dark Law without Fountain? I don't think it's happening. They're shifting you, they're drolling you, they're fooing you to then draw into more hand traps to prevent that from happening. For me, I just can't see it at all. Like if you go first in full combo, sure, Hero can be A tier, B tier, S tier, whatever you want it to be. But for me, if I'm going any of the C tier decks, for whatever reason, it's not going to be Hero. I think there's just some of these decks. This is not in order, by the way.
Yeah.
Some of these decks just work so much better. There's no reason for me to pull towards Hero unless I just am a dedicated Hero player. And just love the deck. If I'm being honest, if I'm looking at any of these C tier decks as what I'd want to play, it's either Art Mage, it's Enneacraft, and maybe Exo Sister. I think a lot of the other decks have specific problems or are just too niche.
I agree, yeah. Well, we both agreed. Rocket worst deck, baby. Rocket Dragon Link worst deck. Let's go.
No, I'm not joking. I think that's okay.
I'm joking around with jokes and everything, but like I also agree that it's the worst deck on this list.
I think Rocket's so bad, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Like I think it mainly comes down to the sort of deck design philosophy that was happening during that time. Every deck was basically like Link 1, Link 2, Link 3, Link 4, Link 5. Like you're just climbing up the ladder, and all the new Rocket support does is just allow you to climb the ladder easier through disruption.
And you still kind of end on the same board where you just kind of like that one Gravity Falls like thing was like, wow, this is completely worthless.
I think Yeah, I don't have anything more to say.
Yeah.
Obviously there's some decks here that are listed that don't have support at all that I just included just because they are relevant to the people who are here on this server, and I'll speak to
Mhm.
the decks that are more like closely personal to me. White Forest, do not play this deck. Period. This thing sucks. I played it in Master Duel. I went back to back to back versus Cool Tune, and the amount of one-ofs that they ripped from my deck and threw into the graveyard. Well, I guess I
I
can't
guess I
combo.
lose.
I guess I can't combo. Like I have perfect hand. I can't combo because you removed the one of. I'm just like, it's an exercise in masochism. Like I would never want to play this deck. And you already get hosed by level manipulation anyway, so this deck sucks. And the other deck that I'm very fond of is Exo Sister. I think Exo Sister has enough non-engine to play into it, and it's one of the decks that can play Shifter. But it's still not that good, to be honest with you. As much as I would want it I love to put it in B tier. It's just you're only playing this deck if you like it. I don't think you should play White Forest at all. I can at least be like, if you want to play Exo Sister, go ahead, play Exo Sister, Duke.
Yeah.
I think
go ahead. Sorry,
and then the other decks that it's not that important to me, but I think is very relevant is just kind of like the downfall of Crystron. I just don't think this deck is playable either. Love Manipulation does suck. Locking you out of a Skeletist feels awful, to be honest. But I think it's not terrible.
Yeah, you're right. The only deck I will say that hasn't had a lot of testing, it hasn't showed up a lot, and probably won't for a while, probably needs more experimentation with, is the Trains deck. That is just Earth Machine 2.0. Well, they do get a new Ollie Negate, which is kind of neat. And they came in somewhat FTK, but like not really neat. Like that's not happening most of the time. It is something. It should be something that should be at least somewhat discussed, like in the future of like when it comes to light. But for right now, no one's testing this deck, and no one has anything. So like it's whatever. All right, let's just head on to the next one. I think we talked too much about the deck tier list now.
All right. Does anyone have any questions before we go any further? Where are Hecka hands? Oh my god, brother,
This
that's deep.
Sucks.
Bro, that's
that deck fucking sucks. But speaking of actually Hecka hands, if we go on to the next slide.
No one's asking about sleeper hands. That's crazy.
We're back stacking a server eternity with custom ban list.
Yes, okay, Shiroun agreed with me. Hero is C for sure.
Okay, yeah, no, I 100% Hero C. I will 100% admit that now. Like, it's the C deck for what it is now, but I think once Fountain hits, it's maybe B. And I'm saying hard maybe, like, as somebody who's coping with the deck. I am coping hard, I'll admit that.
Let me see. Somebody said, a question, sorry, but where will K9 be in this list? I mean, K9 is basically associated mainly with Vanquish Soul and Crystron. I think the placements for those two decks are very tied. Like I think they are correct. I think, like I said earlier, I think Vanquish Soul was the one that I had the most trouble placing. Not that I thought it was a terrible deck and it needed to be in C, but it was just like, how far can I justify it being better than B? And I just couldn't do it. But I think, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, the problem is with particularly against K9 BS and everything. Yeah, a lot of stuff. They can play a lot of good cards. Don't get me wrong. And then the Ashuna play, which immediately goes into like basically a Book of Moon or just a Ripper and everything to negate hand or Rigor is strong. Don't get me wrong. The problem is with that is you don't like you have to open almost. It feels like at least against Cool Tune, you kind of have to open at least a really good hand against them to do anything. Because Book of Moon's not doing anything. They're just quick synchro immediately once you try to do stuff. You can't play. You can't really play the like for K9 particularly. Like you once you start losing hands, they're gonna start immediately getting destroyed, kind of a deal. Um, like you're just kind of, and in addition with K9 in general, they have really good engine to push through stuff, but they're gonna lose to DoomZ's like a searching effect immediately off the bat. So that checks them. Cool Tune, they're just going to either modulate the levels, so like because some of them do have less than 1800 attack, and that sucks. They would. So you can't really make rank 5 plays anymore. I can't justify it more than B. Like it can cook a bunch of the decks in the top cut, but it requires you to play almost out of your mind perfectly.
Yeah. Although I will say when we go in, since these guys are talking about like the uphill battle, I actually think one of the best things about Hero is the non-engine it's going to be able to play going to next format. But we'll get into that after we do the hand traps. So if there are any more questions, feel free to let us know. But otherwise, Heck of Hands is in poopy tier.
But poopy tier, and it literally is.
Although shout out to that guy who went undefeated at his regionals with Chimera Heck of Hands. That was kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie.
I will admit that was kind of cracked. That guy was that guy probably had either the easiest matchups of his life, or he fought like it was never believed, and I respect both.
Yeah. But with that said, going back to the presentation.
To the hand trap list, baby. All right, best hand traps in this format. Obviously, Fua is the best one. Don't need to explain any more than that. Shifter, we've discussed about banishing effects. That's good. Harmonia, we've also discussed why that's really good as well. Ash Blossom to check the Fua and other things. Bell is going to be really good into Cool Tune as well, because a lot of their stuff does revolve around reviving and graveyard, so it can check a bunch of the stuff. Sparks is just really good this format in general, as we've discussed, and Impulse, because everything's going to be special summoning, it's just really cracked. Yeah, and A tier Perilla's decent. There are going to be a bunch of decks that do summon from hand. Not the greatest, but anything. Yes, there is a Heck of Hands one, and I'm going to tell you why in a sec. K9 Asuna, it's still good rank 5 plays and everything, don't get me wrong, it's just going to be a little trickier. Droll's really good. It does check a bunch of the the main decks still, just not as good as it used to. Retaliating C and Contact C. Contact C screws up everything about them. Everything about DoomZ. They need the XC summon, and there's usually if they're going to play anything, they'll play SP. But at least in the example list I showed, they usually don't. And Retaliating C because banish effects are strong, and this is really good into Cool Tune when they do the quick play spell. Gamma and Delta are insanely strong right off the bat. They can both check and destroy a bunch of the stuff that Cool Tune and all the decks are doing well. This is probably what you would play in the side deck, but they're still really strong. And then Purge, there is a lot of siding cards, but there's just not that many good light decks right now, in my opinion, or fire or anything. So it's not fire, but or like Earth or anything so it's not as great as it was, but I still think it's strong. I put all the me and Warrior put all the fair Effect Failure, Imperm, and Ghost Mortar into B tier. I think all these are really good because they do counter a bunch of the hand trap negates. It won't do much in the Cool Tune, but it can do some things into the other decks. DoomZ can do some things, especially with Melodious the Pures we were talking about earlier. That if you stop that card is the main thing. Or R&D or the new Crimson King is pretty good. All right, Heck of Hands. This card fucking sucks in everything but the mirror match for Cool Tune. The reason why this is literally in B tier is because it's now really good into the mirror match for Cool Tune. You play this, you just initiate your plays immediately, and it's just kind of cracked. Magnamut, by itself, is B tier because it searches out Harmonia, and it's really good into a bunch of other things. but every other bestial is just in the F tier or D tier. They just don't really have the place to do anything else, and that's just the sad thing. The double dragon winged monster, she is really good. I think the problem is she just doesn't have a home besides Radiant Typhoon, but it's really good into the current meta. You go monsters, you can shuffle back all the cool 2 monsters for free. You go spells and traps. You can shuffle back if your opponent, your DoomZ player plays a spell and trap and everything. You shuffle all of that back and you've outed the trap card easily. It also outs the monsters as well because you could just it gets destroyed and it will trigger. Don't get me wrong, but it still makes the game playable. This card is cracked. Ogre sucks. Nib isn't good by itself. It can be paired with a little bit others. Like it can somewhat do things, but right now with Caesar in the format and just easy Omni negates, this card by itself just doesn't do anything. And like it has to be paired with other things. And then Song of the Dominators just kind of sucks in general. Imperm that searches like Purge, like Sparks and everything. It's not the worst thing in the world, but why would you play this instead of any of the other fair hand traps that? Plus, it's also going to turn off your monster effects in hands. It's like that's the worst part about it, and a lot of stuff you kind of want in hand or graveyard. Meows absolutely sucks. There's nobody who's special summoning from graveyard here or banished anymore, so it doesn't do anything. Lancia, it's only good into Malice, and so you might, if you view Malice, play it, but otherwise it's not doing anything. Impulse just sucks. There's and a Phantasme. There's no link monsters in this format. None. DD Crow just absolutely sucks. Yes, you can target the synchro monster, the tuner monsters for cool tune, but they're gonna have a billion of them, so you're trading 1 for 1. They're just gonna immediately get another one. Spiral just doesn't have a home right now. It doesn't do anything. It has a really good effect, but it doesn't do anything good until it has. And then worst one, Ghost Reaper and Cherries. You can use this for the cool tune mirror match. You know what you can also just do? You can also just not like you can just also play anything else. Oh yeah, that's my list. That's me and Royal's list and everything that we agreed on.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. I think. Yeah, there's just nothing to add.
I think I explained it really thoroughly.
I feel like a lot of this stuff is, to be honest, pretty homeless.
Yeah.
I cannot. I gotta stop using this man's vocab.
You need the detox from his videos, man.
Okay. But yeah, I think. Because I thought there was a lot of conversation in the Hero TCG chat about Bell. Bell is so good. Yes, Blue Eyes is better.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure one of them can. Blue Eyes is better, but that Blue Eyes it still sucks at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's menial improvement.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's not much that really can be said. Yeah, there's not much. Any questions so far? You mean white? No, you mean WW white woman? I agree.
I have no questions. I can go over the non-engine.
Yeah.
The
Go ahead.
breakers.
That sounds perfect.
All right. Last slide before we finish this off. Okay, so you see that there's no C category just because like everything in C was so worthless and not worth mentioning at all. But we'll go through what is here. I think the best 3 board breakers in this format, in no particular order, are the Super Poly, the Forbidden Droplet, and the Forbidden Crown. Super Poly deals with Cool Tune. It can deal with DoomZ. It can technically deal with Dracotel, although you don't necessarily need to run it for that deck specifically. It just helps remove a lot of the threats or a lot of the specific quote-unquote floodgates of the format. Droplet helps to resolve a lot of your spells, traps, or any of your monster effects by through dodging, just because a lot of this stuff in the format requires targeting. And then Crown, sort of like similar to Super Poly in a sense, where it's just like going 1-for-1 with or 1-for-2, I guess, with specific threats that are already on board. Fallen the Virtuous was one that we didn't fully agree on. I thought it was A, and he thought it was S. My main thing was that it only will really see play in specific decks, but the card is still very good, which is why I relented and allowed it to be put in S. Just because it is a breaker in more ways than one. And then Lava Golem, if your deck can run it, it again, it kind of it's trading 2-for-1, and that's kind of
Sometimes
like
even,
that's kind of the name of the game in this format.
sometimes 3-for-1 for the DoomZ as well. Or just
Going
1-for-1, kind of, yeah. So anyway, sorry, I
Go-
didn't interrupt you. Keep going.
Going into A, we'll skip to its related brother or cousin, which is the Raw Sphere mode, which it is a good card, but it is more reliant on more monsters on field, which if it's going into Cool Tune, they'll just limit the monsters that they put on field. They'll at least end on 2 for the most part. Sometimes they'll end on 1. Pankratops, I think anything that can address these monsters that necessarily need your monster to remain on field are pretty good. Book of Eclipse was one that I actually had in S, just because RS can't answer it because you can use it in the standby or to draw phase instead of the main phase where she can answer it. It also does good into DoomZ because it basically remove it. The DoomZ trap is an equip card when it's attached, so it doesn't target, and when monsters are flipped, the equip cards no longer apply. But it's still ashable, so Ash is going to be one of the best hand traps in the format, so it went down to A. Illusion Gate is great, especially if we're talking like Cool Tune Mirror Match, because not only does it allow you to deal with what's already on their field, especially since it's non-targeting destruction, but also allows you to then take what they had on field and then start your own plays with it. Harpies / Lightning Storm, again, deals with the DoomZ traps, the DoomZ trap. It deals with the Cool Tune synchros that will be on the field. So it forces them to use them in suboptimal ways, which allows you to not have to deal with the Quink synchro effects. And then evenly match. A lot of decks don't run specifically spell trap negates, so evenly can put in work if you're able to limit their board. I think everything in B is relevant enough to talk about, but not relevant enough to talk about in like maximum detail, because Illusion Gate's just better at Geki. Kaijus are just 1-for-1s at best. 1-for-2 at best if we're talking like the DoomZ attached with the trap. But I think at that point you kind of want to go more than just 1-for-2. Talents and Thrust will always be like good cards, but since Talents is at 1 and Thrust, a lot of the best board breaker cards are non-normal spells and traps. So you I would just rather run the super, probably the Droplet, the Crown, whatever it is that specifically works. Dark Ruler, most decks have layers at this point of interruption, so you can't really. It only can be but so good. Kurikara, a lot of the interruptions aren't necessarily tied to the monsters on field. Like Zaylin, RS, Gulamel if we're talking Draco Tail, and Murakumo, for example, if we're talking like the top decks. But it's great, but once those cards resolve, it doesn't really matter that you get rid of them.
especially since if we're talking like the Draco Tail matchup, they can recur those cards onto the field anyway. Ultimate Slayer is like okay. There's just so much variance on the field that you kind of need more than just that to really push through. And then Metaltronus is good in specific matchups, but you also have to be playing a deck that's good into that specific matchup. Which typically comes down to mirrors or decks that don't rely heavily on their extra deck.
In addition, like mainly this could be another card that they use from for the Cool Tomb mirror match that is decent. In particular with also why I said Book of Eclipse isn't like at least an A tier kind of a deal, is the fact that there is going to be at least one, like at least like another Omni Negate or like a spell or acquisitions and everything when you're sighting in. So this card doesn't really do too, like it goes well when it's paired with another one, but when it's by itself, it kind of feels, it doesn't feel as good. At least with everything in S tier, everything at least either gives you advantage or it can't be, or you can easily like work around kind of a deal. So like if Stupid Poly can't be responded to easy, droplets you can at least like negate the field and maybe send a trap card, probably not, but like it will at least feel better. Crown is really good into Cool Tune as well, not only for stopping their plays, but you can also catch them off guard. If you can't end them on a half board, you just go for one of the little guys and like if you can get like 8,000 damage over the little guys and everything, you just kind of win the duel off the spot from the bat. So it is nasty. And then Lava Golem can easily break the boards. Evenly Match is interesting for A tier as well because it by itself it kind of does nothing, but like again with other things with it can be good, or like a good way to start off and pair it with maybe like go Evenly Match then Book of Eclipse kind of a deal like afterwards. Like it is like decent. Other than that, yeah, Royal kind of covered everything else pretty well. Any questions like for anybody?
Or I'll ask you guys a question. What deck are y'all playing into this format?
Yeah, exactly. What deck are you guys going to play for this format?
Because I'm playing Lunalight and I'm playing Exo Sister personally. And
I will probably be playing Radiant Typhoon for a bit just to see what the meta just to see what it goes for. I do like decks like that. Fire King's also a good one, yeah.
I think Predaplant is pretty good.
Yeah, Predaplant is good. Yeah.
Yummy Fiendsmith, dog. Oh man, have fun. Have fun, bro.
Dude. Yummy Fiendsmith is unfortunately not gonna be decent in this meta. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Yeah, he's very much like
it's very coping. Unfortunately, if you want to play Yummy, you have to play with Azamina. That's the only way. And I do mean only.
Let's see what else. RB. Actually, RB is just worse Cool Tune. It
really is.
You get my hand knowledge, and you still lose.
That's crazy. You look at your opponent's hand and you just go, "That's crazy, man. I guess I lose immediately."
Yes. Clown Crew's not that. Clown Crew's pretty good.
Clown Crew is decent.
You're toxic for playing Vandy's Fiend or Vandy Ruler Turbo or Contested. But you're a pen player.
It makes sense.
He's a pen player. What can we say?
Yeah.
Toxic.
Can Cool Tune run Shifter? They can. It doesn't mean that it's good, but they can.
I'm not playing Floods. I'm not playing Floods in Maine?
That's crazy.
Then you're not really playing Clown Crew, are you?
That's crazy, dog.
Let's see. Okay. No. Okay, okay. This is actually a good question because I think
Yeah, I was gonna
Shifter's.
say.
I think Shifter's good. I think Retaliating C is good. I think everything else is trash.
It's
Because the most common one, I forgot which channel posted it. People are buying like Grisel's Prison for like buying it out crazy.
yeah,
And
that
that
card's
card,
not good.
that card is not good at all.
So the only good floodgate that besides all the banished ones that we talked about, Dimensional Shifter, Di-Fi, all the stuff that basically does it. Yes, Galian Prison is also decent as well because it means you can't synchro summon. It is pretty decent. The only one that I can really think of is There Can Only Be One. It does somewhat stop a bunch of things, but it doesn't do anything into my DoomZ matchup. It doesn't do anything into Drake. It doesn't do anything into Dragotail. Kill Train is everything's activating in hand and nothing is resolving on field anyhow. Oh, in graveyard, so it is not as good as you think it is.
Another one that is going around is Deck Lockdown, and I think that card is not good either. Just because most decks will just pop it for the most part, especially ones that don't necessarily need to resolve a first search. Draco Tail, Cool Tune are big examples of those. What else is there?
The most popular one that you just need to worry about though is Di-Fi. I think Di-Fi, if you can play it in the main, like absolutely play it in the main. It is good in the Cool Tune going first or second. It is just that it doesn't matter. It turns off literally almost all of their hand traps and their recursion. So it really and more importantly, if Droll becomes even like a really good like main deck card, which it probably will still be in the side deck in my opinion, but it does turn off Droll as well. And of course, this is only in response to if Cool Tune literally becomes the most popular deck kind of a deal. You should absolutely be like main decking Di-Fi.
Yeah, I think I guess the biggest thing about this presentation, not that I didn't realize it before, is that this set equally is great, but also equally sucks.
Yeah,
because I think
sex.
I think we started. Yeah, sex. Yo.
Sex.
Yo. But
gone wrong.
It really shows just how far we've progressed so far, and then they decided let's print cards that make this not fun. I keep saying this. I say it in the general chat all the time. I hate DMod so much. Why did we make a Link 1 fusion that's generic?
Mm-hmm.
And now we I think Burst Protocol wasn't amazing, but it's not miserable like this is now.
We went from Snake Eyes format, which was absolutely terrible, to basically everything is basically Mitsurugi / Malice / Ryziel, to probably one of the most fun formats in ever because you got to play so many different decks as well with all your with your slop engine, which is fine. I absolutely enjoy playing with my yummy slop or my canine slop or my or just Dragotail in general. But then we go to here, which is I now have perfect knowledge. You immediately lose, or now everything is just built 60 card slop that plays through all the fair hand traps, and plus now I get to make it 3 Omni Negates for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, and hand rips, because why not?
And then we're just gonna get into Chaos Origins, and then we'll have to deal with the same things because they decided to give Tunes hand check plus prohibition in one card. I despise that card. I hate that card so much. Literally,
I hate that card.
I literally went against Toons once, and dude was like, "Set mind scan face up on field. Let me see your hand. Oh, you have a hand trap. Congratulations, it's not working, bro."
Well, congratulations. Like, I'm just gonna play around it completely.
Yeah, I'm gonna play around it completely. Also, when your turn starts, there's gonna be an Omni Negate on my field, counter trap on the field.
Yeah.
Enjoy playing the game. Like,
Yeah.
what? First of all, why do Toons have a Omni Negate? Why?
I don't know. All right. Well,
It's
any other last minute questions before we leave it off here today? Yeah, I think that's about it. It was great having everybody here today.
yes. Thank you everybody for joining. Shiroun will give me the footage, and we'll have it up at some point.
Perfect. Have a great day, everybody.
Well, bye now. Wait, that's 2 hours?
That's 2 hours
Yeah.
and 15 minutes. Damn.
Let's go. All right.
Go. Bye.
Bye.